Hey, what up, Knitty people? How are you today? Welcome to the Knitty McPurly podcast, episode 142. I'm your host, Devin Ventry. You can find me online at KnittyMcPurly.com. I'm on Instagram as Knitty McPurly, and if you want to email me, I am Devin, D-E-V-I-N, at KnittyMcPurly.com. How are you today, guys? It is a gorgeous Sunday. Yesterday was like disgustingly hot, and today I'm hoping it's going to be a little cooler. It might still be crazy humid. We get that here in Northern Virginia, but I'm two-fisted today. I'm drinking water. Oh, and my son put a whole bunch more stickers on here. I don't know, whatever. Got my Murdog. I'm drinking out of my Colorado mug. I got my water in there, and my coffee is in my gigantic Michigan mug. I have learned so much about Michigan thanks to you guys. Thanks, Amy, for this mug. Thanks, Deb and Julie. Awesome. I just love it. But I've learned a lot about Michigan. Who knew? We'll talk more about that in the comments. My kids started school this week. My older two go to school, and I homeschool my younger two. And it is gearing up to be the best year ever. I won't go into too much detail about that, but my youngest daughter's dyslexic, and we have found her groove. So good things are happening. Last week, I talked about Psalm 139, verse 13. Thank you, knitters, who told me that. Many of you told me about being knit in the womb. I talked about that last week, and I was curious about the word knit, because obviously the Bible was not written in English. I don't know what the Psalms were written in. You guys probably know. Hebrew? David wrote the Psalms, right? Or at least most of them. I think they were written in Hebrew. So I got an email from a lovely knitter named Tony. And here's what she said. She says, first of all, Devin, I enjoy your weekly podcast. I usually sit down with a cup of coffee and my knitting on Monday mornings to enjoy all that you bring to your fellow knitters. This week, you talked about the scripture in Psalm 139, verse 13. I'll never forget that again. She says, I love that my Heavenly Father knits. Isn't that just a great image? Like, just think in your mind, just an image of God the Father knitting people. Love it. She says, I am a Bible teacher at my church, and we covered this verse. Allow me to share with you what I discovered. She says Hebrew. In the Hebrew language, there are a couple other translations for this phrase, knit together. And it is interwoven, stitched together in various colors. So as knitters, we think of knitting and weaving kind of like opposites, right? I mean, you get a different fabric when you knit and when you weave, but they're also the same because you're putting threads together to make a cloth. And Tony goes on to say, with no science or ultrasound available, only the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, David is not only describing to us his own conception, but he is experiencing it in Technicolor. White bones, blue veins, red arteries. Is it any wonder in verse 14 that his response to God the Father is, I praise you for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works and I know them well. David is expressing absolute awe as he experiences God's creativity. I love everything about that. That is just great. In the world that we live in today, we need to reflect on this type of thing more often. So because I have so many amazing comments and stories and emails to share with you today, the end of the podcast is going to be the knitting fantasies, because I have so many stories throughout that I was like, well, I don't have a so here's what happened, but I really do, because I have so many great stories that people have sent in the comments and by email. All right, progress and shop news. You guys, sock rulers are back. If you want one and you have not gotten one yet, I need you to hit pause and go over to my shop and buy one right now, because they're almost gone. Who knew? Oh my gosh. So I put a lot of these in the shop Friday at noon. And as of now, there are some left, but not very many. So if you want a sock ruler, go and get one right now. There is a video that I have on YouTube. It's like a 5-minute video where I go through all the features of the sock ruler, and I've linked that down below if you haven't seen it and you're interested. There are lots of sock rulers out there. I like this one because it has so much functionality that a shorter one does not have. The benefit of a shorter one is that it's more portable, but this one is great. Oh, this isn't mine. Mine has the tape on the back. But this one is great because of all the information that it has about shoe sizes, where you can see a shoe size and you can put your sock on there. And like, if I know someone's shoe size, I can knit them socks. So it's awesome. Go get one if you want one and you haven't gotten one already. August's color of the month is still available. This is it. I find that when I'm editing, I move things too much, so I apologize for that. I'll try and keep things a little bit more still so that you can see them. The color of the month is available on Dubrovnik DK and Frankfurt Fingering. There's a little speckle in there. And this is still available in the shop. And I keep the color of the month up until they are gone. So there's still a couple of July's color in there too. I think that's it. I don't think there's any of the previous colors still in the shop. But this coming Friday is September 1st, so there will be a new color. I am wearing my Faucette crop today. I wore this to Mass this morning. Got it over a dress that I made. I forget what this is called. This is a dress pattern made by Ray. What's it called? I can't remember. I'll remember it and put it in the link below. But I've worn this dress a lot. It's out of this double gauze that I got at that fabric store in Haymarket as it was going out of business. Do you remember that lady who kept trying to tell me that they don't have any apparel fabric? And then when I found it, she was like, oh, but that's all we have. I'm like, do you want to sell it to me or not? But I love this dress. It's double gauze, which is an amazing fabric for summer dresses. And I just love it. With the Faucette in Poirot, you can see it really well over here, Poirot and Bosque and Morel. And I am wearing my Joy stitch marker necklace with it. Now these things, they do flip around a little bit, but I don't mind. It doesn't bother me. So this is nice because when you are out knitting, like at a baseball game or, you know, volleyball practice or wherever it is that you go, and you realize that you need a stitch marker, you can just pop one of these puppies off of there, and there you go. And they are the kind that open. That's how you get them off. And they have this adorable little circle. And this necklace comes in gold and silver on my website. And it comes with 7 stitch markers. But when I put all 7 on there, I feel like it's a little bit crowded. So I'm a fan of 3. And 3s and 7s, I like that. It's a good number. And it goes with my Grace and Wood earrings too. All this stuff is linked down below if you're interested in that. Okay, the Diggory Tea is in testing right now. And my wonderful testers, oh my gosh, these ladies are so great. And they're so like positive, and many of them have finished, and some of them are, you know, life happens, and so you just need an extra week. So we decided to add an extra week to the test. No big deal. So instead of Friday, September 1st, the Diggory Tea will be out on September 8th. So that's exciting. Some of the finished ones that I've seen are beautiful, and the knitters are so positive. They just look so great, and they're like, you know what? I'm gonna put this over a shirt and wear it all winter. And I'm like, that's great, because it's basically like a vest. It has really short sleeves, even shorter than Faucette. It's just a little tiny sleeve. And some of the knitters have done some variations, and some of them have just knit it as is, but it's a sweater that lends itself to a lot of variation if you want to do that. I originally was planning on adding that into the pattern, but that was gonna hold it up And I thought, you guys are so creative. You know what to do. You can do it however you want. You can add on to it in any number of ways. So that will be out September 8th. One other thing I wanted to show you, I have to go get it. Hold on. I am embarrassed by how winded I am after I run up the stairs. So this next thing that I'm going to show you is like years in the making. You guys have been requesting this for years. Are you ready? I hesitate to even show it because it's not going to be in the shop until Friday. So if you're interested and you want to hear about it, subscribe to my newsletter on my website and you will get a newsletter about it on Friday. I have plenty. Even though they are amazing, they're not going to sell out immediately. Are you ready? Can you see it? It's a Murdog pin. I actually wanted, it's hard to get a good view of it. I actually wanted to get it in the shop. My camera is not that great and there's so much light. If I turn it like that, maybe. I actually wanted to get this in the shop the same day as the sock rulers, but I was held up by the card. Isn't it cute? I designed it myself. You guys have been asking me for a pin, and this is a metal enamel pin. And when I was having it made, I was concerned about the yarn. Do you see how it's kind of thin? But it is sturdy. It's very durable. It's a nice, thick, heavy pin. And it's colorful. You guys requested a colorful pin. And I felt like, what? I just can't get a good shot of it. There we go. That's a little better. What embodies Knitty McPurly more than the Murdog? The Murdog is it. So these will be in the shop on Friday. Subscribe to the newsletter if you want to get a reminder in your inbox about that. Also coming out on Friday is September's color of the month. So that will be here, and it is going to embody all of the fall vibes. It's going to be just fall. I'm already thinking about it. Because for me, we're back from the beach. School has started. Now it can be fall. And it really, what are we like? A little more than 3 weeks away from the start of fall? That's crazy, you guys. That's nuts. Does it feel like fall to you? I really feel like it does. Like I want to knit. And it's not even cold out yet, but when it starts to get cold, I'm like, give me the needles. I must knit. I don't know why. I mean, I knit all year. Maybe you knit all year too, but when the fall comes, I'm just like, yes. And that said, I've made no progress on my Molly sweater. I didn't even bring it because it looks exactly the same as it did last week. I did knit this week, but I'm working on the advent calendar. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun. It is so much fun. I have to make the pattern available. Even if you didn't buy the advent calendar, you will also be able to buy the patterns individually, I think. I haven't really thought through that yet, but I will do it because I know people like that, and you can use whatever, yarn scraps you want. But that, oh my gosh, it is so fun. I love it. We're doing ornaments this year, as I've said, and it is so, so fun. I cannot wait for you to see it. Okay, let's go right to crocheting with Gigi.
Okay.
Welcome to Crocheting with Gigi.
My segment.
Starring
Gigi.
Gigi.
That was really awkward. We're gonna pretend that didn't happen.
That's what we do here.
I made a bear. His neck's a little bit.
So this, you might remember this bear. I'll put the picture up of Livy.
Okay.
This is Livy with her bear.
She loved him.
She loved him. So that's the one that you made in the car. And then this one you made last night.
His face a little bit.
That's okay. No, just shove it back in. It's fine. So tell us about your bear. I think we need to show his whole shape. Because his body is just...
His neck's a little bit long.
He is fabulous. I love how his arm comes out of his belly.
He's like, hey. We're good.
No need to share this weird precarious sitting situation you have.
No.
But it's illustrative of what we've got going on here, I think. Oh, is this like a belly button? No, but it looks like one, sort of.
It's just a messed up stitch.
It's in the right
so I
place.
made the Livy's bear on the way to the beach. It was about 4.5 hours.
Yeah.
And I made half of him, his body and the top of his head, on
all of the green?
All of the green on the way home, but then it got dark in the car.
Right.
And if I turn on a light, everyone would be like, ugh.
Oh, yeah. And Charlotte was asleep.
She literally, her head was on my lap, and she took my blanket to sleep on.
She's the smallest person in the family, but she takes up the most space.
She laid down. I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm sitting here.
But you got a lot done, though.
Oh, no, I did this yesterday.
The head.
The head, the arms, the ears,
and the
hat.
finishing, and the eyes. Oh, the brim.
Frill.
Oh, okay.
You knit the top of the green head, then you knit the rest of the brown, and then you pick up a stitch, and you go in and make a little frill.
The frill.
Because you do a half double crochet, 4 half double crochets, and 4 stitches, and then in one stitch you do 4 half double crochets.
Oh, I see. To get the floofiness.
The floofiness. He's
Nice.
supposed to have a frog purse, but it was complicated, and I didn't care enough.
But you might someday care. Or not. Maybe not.
No.
Somebody sent me, did I send it to you?
I don't
on
know.
Instagram? I don't even remember what it was. Lemons? Who sent me the lemons?
Lemons?
Rachel? I think it was Rachel. She sent me the lemons. There are these crocheted lemons.
Can you throw them at people?
I will put up a picture. You could throw them at people, but I wouldn't throw them at Antonin because, I mean, that's who you'd most want to throw them at.
Yeah.
But he's a destroyer. He picks at stuff.
I know. I made him a duck, like this little mallard. He was like, he ripped out its cute stuff. I wish I hadn't given it to him. He's such a pig. Oh my gosh.
Well, then he comes to me with this pile of duck parts, and he's like, "Can you fix this?" And I'm like, "I don't think so."
I can't believe he ruined that mallard.
But
what a mallard ruiner.
Antonin, ruiner of mallards.
Yeah.
So anyway, this
did we show the king mallard? The one I made for Alexis.
I think we did.
Did we? No, I don't think we did.
Do you need to go get it?
I'm gonna go get it.
All right.
I will be right back.
Okay. Pause.
We have here.
Hold on, you have to give it a sec. Okay, now go.
Jerry, king of the mallards, slayer of all inferior birds.
Now, Jerry's... he's mostly a potato. I noticed. But look, he's just a potato with a beak. But he's a mallard because of the colors. He has eyes.
He's so soft.
But you remember how so many things started as a potato? So
I literally made a potato because it started as a potato, and then I had nothing else to do, so I just made a potato. It's a really upset potato. Well, potato!
But the other mallards had wings and feet, didn't they?
Yeah. I like making potatoes and then going from there. Like the corn, the little dancing corn up here, I don't know if you can see him, I started as a green...
Oh, there's the duck.
I started as a yellow potato, and then he looked like a corn, so I made him go...
He's very sassy.
He is.
With his
He's the sassiest little corn. He's like...
I'm never going to be able to get it back up there. Oh, here, I'll put him here.
Oh,
it depends where my
he's
head
like
is.
Sometimes
I'm covering this with my big head.
Oh, the duck fell. All right.
So anyway.
Jerry!
Okay.
Yay!
What are you going to make for us this week, Gigi? Oh, Gigi wants to make... Dad doesn't watch the podcast. Dad wouldn't be caught dead watching this podcast.
Oh, there's my wife talking about yarn.
Delete.
Yeah.
Like I need more of that. So she wanted to crochet a blanket for Dad for his birthday.
Like the one I made with flowers, like the same material, but...
So that's bulky.
Bulky. The same kind of acrylic kind of yarn, I think.
And Hobby Lobby does not have a great selection of colors.
Yeah, but, you know.
We could look
I don't know
online.
if I'm going to make the same flower pattern. I mean, it's kind of flowery.
Yeah.
But I know how to make it.
I think it should be a lot of bright colors. With orange, because Dad likes orange.
Just like a dark orange.
Yes.
Like, are there any superheroes with orange?
I don't know.
I
only know the main superheroes. I don't know, like, the...
Thor, like that loser.
I've lost
like Captain America.
Who
and then
is
there's
that?
another Captain America who's
They're
a
all
woman.
red, white, and blue, or maybe yellow.
And then there's the woman who, of course, is stronger than all the men because that's just realistic. Yeah, you know, Thor, this jacked dude. Oh, no, she can beat him with her little... got magic. Yeah, okay.
All right, I feel like this has taken a turn.
I feel like it's taking a very dark turn. Mallard!
All right, bye, Gigi.
Bye!
All right, topic of the week. Let's talk about the Finchley Graft. So, the backstory, as I've talked about before, is that Kitchener, the man, was kind of a dirtbag. In 1918, Vogue magazine, because back then I think there wasn't like a Vogue magazine and a Vogue knitting magazine. Vogue magazine had knitting patterns in it because that's what women wanted. And, you know, there were a couple of wars going on in the early 20th century, so knitting was important. And Vogue magazine in 1918 published a sock pattern with a grafted toe using the Kitchener stitch, and they called it the Kitchener sock because Kitchener was the face, the very masculine, manly face that they used on the war effort posters to get people to be involved and to help and to knit and things like that. So because of his face being on the poster, they used his name to name the sock. So then we called that grafting method the Kitchener stitch. So some people don't like the Kitchener stitch because it's annoying and it's hard to remember. I don't think it is. Knit, slip, purl, purl, slip, knit. Knit, slip, purl, slip, knit. And you get kind of into a rhythm. But if you don't do it a lot, I could see how it could be annoying. Other people want to boycott it because Kitchener was a dirtbag. But there's going to be dirtbags. I mean, this is the world that we live in. I'm always saying this to my kids. I'm like, pick any group of people, you know, mailmen, knitters, whatever, garbage men, dog lovers, whatever. Pick any group of people and you're going to have, you know, 90% of them being nice and normal and the other 10% are dirtbags. Like, that's life. It just so happens that we call this stitch after a guy who was a jerk face. You know, whatever. So I don't think we should boycott it for that reason because it's not like he came up with it. Anyway, I could go on and on. But if you want to boycott the stitch because it's annoying, fair enough. So somebody mentioned to me, I think a few people mentioned the Finchley Graft. So I looked it up and I looked up Roxanne Richardson and she's the one who taught me how to do it. So here is a little video of me showing you. I am not an expert. This is my very first time doing it. I am just trying to illustrate the stitch done by a beginner and so that you can see it and decide for yourself if you think that it is less annoying than the Kitchener stitch. Here it is. Okay, so this is me figuring out how to do the Finchley Graft as a beginner. I have never done it before. I learned how from Roxanne Richardson, so if you want like the expert explanation, you should go check out her video on that. So I just quickly worked up 2 little pieces of stockinette in St. Petersburg Super Bulky in the trinket colorway. This is left over from Nancy. Remember Nancy, the dinosaur, the mom dinosaur and her baby Sheldon? But I thought it would be good yarn to use to illustrate this. Now, normally when we do the Kitchener stitch, you have your 2 pieces of stockinette with the right sides facing out, because like if this were the toe of a sock, you get to the toe and then you would graft. Now Finchley, oh, and as a little side note, I tried to find out who Finchley was and to see if he committed any atrocities, but I was not able to find that information. So you never know. The knitting community is very sleuthy. We may unearth something. So the main difference between the Kitchener stitch and the Finchley Graft is that you are going to work it from the wrong side. So if it were the toe of a sock, you would need to turn it inside out. And Roxanne she shows how to do that on her video. Okay, so I'm gonna do my best to try to show you how the Finchley Graft goes. All right, so I'm pretty sure, I think this is, now when she talks about going into the stitch to stitch it up, she says that the needle's pointing away from you. But as I watched her, you see how the stitch is kind of like diagonal? You go in the way that is the open way. Like if you think of the stitch as kind of leaning that direction, You go into the front and then into the back, go into both, and then you pull it through. And just like Kitchener, if it's too loose, it's easy to fix later, but if it's too tight, it's hard to fix later. I'm telling you what Roxanne said. Like I said, this is my first time. Now, the one I just went through, I'm gonna drop off. And as I was, my first time watching her, I thought, is this really easier? Like, it doesn't look easier to me. But as I continue to watch, I think it is a little bit easier. So now I'm gonna go through the back and the needle's gonna be pointing towards me. And again, you kind of go in, wait, so the needle, yeah, I'm gonna go in this way because that's kind of the open side of the stitch. Go in the back and then the front and pull it through. Now, the stitch that you went through last is the one that you're gonna drop off. And the way to remember that is the next step would be to go this way. And I can't go there because that will just undo what I just did. So I'm gonna drop that off and then I'm gonna go to the next two. I'm gonna go in the front and the back and pull it through, and I'm leaving it a little bit loose. And you drop off the one that you went through last, and then you go in this way. And I'm kind of going in the open side, like I said. That's just my thinking about it. Roxanne did not say, which I thought was funny, but I noticed as she was doing it. So then we'll drop that one off. Go in, open side. Gosh, I hope this is long enough. It's super bulky yarn. It's really hard to tell because it's so fat. It was hard to get it on that yarn needle. I'm just gonna slide it down a little bit. Okay, and then you slide off the one that you just did. Now I'm gonna go in the open side. I do think it's easier. Yeah, I'll give it that. In the open side, front and back. So if you're interested, I suggest you watch the video of an expert, but this is just to give you a little bit of an introduction, if it's new to you. It is easier. I concede, but I should have left more of a tail. In, drop. In. Oops, I split the yarn there a little bit. And then we drop that one off. I'm down to 2. Hope I don't run out of yarn. In, drop off the second one. Now, okay, we're not quite to the end yet. In. Ooh, I have almost none left. And drop off the second one. Now for the last 2, look at that. I don't even think I can do it. Let's see, I'll tighten it up a little bit. For the last 2, you go in and then you pull it through and you drop both off. Oh, did you see that yarn chicken right there? Okay, so let's see how it looks. Wow, look at that. It's a little bit loose. Here, that's a tail right there. Let me see. Pull that tight. That looks really good. You can tell where it is because the stitches are a little bigger, but it looks just as good as Kitchener. If I were to tighten it up, let's see. I'm gonna pull that out. I have almost no yarn left there. If I were to tighten it up, one leg at a time, let's see if we can make it disappear. The dog is outside my room. He knows I'm in here. And he's like, I'm just gonna sit here and wait, which is really sweet. Okay, which one is it? I feel like this is that maybe, what? That's the stitch above. There it is. That's where I had to pull it a little tighter because I was running out of yarn. And then I'll pull in the end. Boy, that was yarn chicken. I don't know. I don't know if I tightened them effectively. They still look too big. But in a perfect world, I think it would look great. I think with a little more practice, I could get it to look seamless. So there is the Finchley Graft. There are many people who shared their grief projects. So Lois says, I lost my husband in 2021 and am still finding that knitting is relaxing for me. I nursed him for about 15 years and right through to the end, no bed sores. And then she gives the high five. God is so good at keeping us focused. He won't put us through more than we can handle. Gold tried in the fire is purer. Well, that's a message that we all need to hear, like every day. I know I do. Rockstar Kate says, I lost my best friend to ovarian cancer in 2022. The project that kept me company after that was a nice big blanket with beautiful soft yarn. It's the slip stitch blanket from Bee Woolen. I had started it when my friend was still with us, and she had been very excited about the colors I chose. It was very simple and repetitive, but also fun to watch grow and see how the colors interacted with each other. I think it had the right amount of interest and simplicity for that time. My friend had also recently gotten into crochet in the year when she was undergoing treatment and could not work anymore. I inherited her supplies. And I am planning to make something for all of her friends and family with the yarn, just trying to decide on a pattern. Something small like a knitted or crocheted heart, or maybe a little pig. She loved pigs. I miss her every day. That is an amazing idea. One thing I did when my husband's grandpa died, he was really close with his grandpa, like really close. And when he died, I got a lot of his grandpa's old clothes and the girls helped me. We cut them into squares and we made a blanket, like a quilt. And it's just really special. It's really special when you have something like that, when someone has gone. Susan Smith says, hi, Devin. I came up with a grief project for my sister and me when our mother died. It isn't knitting, but it could easily apply to knitting. This is similar to the blanket. We were both very close to Mama, and it was a really hard time for us. And while I have a great support system, my sister doesn't. I knew that she would need something to focus on and look forward to, so I planned a quilt project that we could do together. We live in different states, so we did it long distance. I pulled out lots of fabric from my stash, sent her half, and I kept half. Then each week for 11 weeks, I came up with a simple 5-inch quilt block design and sent her instructions and sometimes video tutorials, and we each made 10 blocks. Wow, Susan could do it though. She's super talented. At the end of the 11 weeks, we each had 110 blocks that we then sewed together and put borders on. The whole project took us about 3 months. It gave us both a weekly task and something to look forward to the next week. We ended up matching queen-size quilts that we both love, and it got us through those first really hard weeks of grieving after losing someone close. Something similar could be applied to knitting, possibly making a different pattern square each week and then putting them together in a memory blanket. Our hobbies can be very healing. That is so true. Like, you just need something to pour your feelings into when you're in that position. And I got lots of different comments. Some people, I got a comment from a woman that I'm not going to read because I thought it was too painful. She lost a child, and she said she just couldn't knit after that because she felt guilty. And I wrote back to her and I said, I think I would feel exactly the same way. You'd feel guilty for living. But when you can knit, it's good to have something to pour yourself into. Amy Spar says, regarding comfort knitting, last year I knit the Slice of Light shawl after the tragic loss of a good friend. The beginning part is very easy, and then it moves into brioche, garter stripes, and finishes with brioche. I thought it was perfect because it was easy when I needed easy, but then got more interesting so I didn't get bored. I think a shawl or a scarf is the perfect comfort project. You don't need to worry about fit, it doesn't take too long, and depending on the pattern, mistakes can be easy to hide or fix. Do you guys remember that Amy shared her story on the podcast? It was such a beautiful story. And knitting gets us through stuff. It does. It was so great for me to read all these comments. The overwhelming consensus was something easy and mindless and comforting like a blanket or a shawl. In another comment, Amy suggested an Audrey knit along, not to change the subject. I wore the Audrey sweater last week and she said, what about an Audrey knit along? And I'm like, that is a great idea. The last comment that I want to share is from Beanaz4069. And she said, grief knitting, stress knitting. For me, they fall into the category of needs to be easy. Not necessarily something that doesn't require attention, but something that doesn't require a great deal of focus, and something in which mistakes can be easily corrected or fudged. When my oldest son was seriously injured in a car accident at 16, I just did the math, and that was 40 years ago, she says. I was working on a bed jacket. It was lace work. I knit on it in the waiting room through 3 surgeries and hours in his hospital room. Some mistakes I fixed and some I let go. In the end, I never used it. Really, I couldn't look at it and not remember that stressful time. I ended up giving it away. He's fine now, but I can still see that soft blue bed jacket. I think it was in a fuzzy Caron yarn, C-A-R-O-N. I do not wish I still had it, but I remember how it got me through, focusing on that simple lace pattern. I think we reach for what we need in stressful situations, sometimes something easy and sometimes something we must focus on so we don't focus on what could be a bad outcome. I fully understand and feel like I could relate to that. I think I would feel the same way. You would pour yourself into the thing, but then you might have to get rid of it. And I'm sure it's beautiful, and whoever is using it, do you guys remember that episode of Andy Griffith with the bed jacket? It was soft and blue too. I'm totally picturing that one. It's in black and white in my head, but someone has it and loves it and doesn't have all those emotions that you put into it in the moment. But yeah, I agree. I mean, something to just take you out of it and take you away from it, because your mind has to have something to turn over, something repetitive. Phew. All right, knitting fantasies. So I went looking for knitting patterns on Etsy, and a lot of times Etsy will show me the ones I've already looked at. Like it's like, oh, you looked at this. Do you want to see it again? But I don't want to see that again. I want to see something new. So I have to do a lot of scrolling. And I found this. This is the frog by Dot Pebbles that I mentioned a couple weeks ago. And it's an adorable pattern, but this pattern is selling the hoodie pattern. And in the description, she has a link where you can get the shoes. So the frog pattern is from Dot Pebbles. This hoodie pattern is by Mallow Duck. It's a little pricey. It's $5 for a frog hoodie pattern, which is a bit much for something you can whip up in yarn scraps. But whatever, if you want it, right? I just loved it so much. I saw it and I gasped, and my kids were like, what? And they all looked at it and they went, oh, like, it's just so great. Alexis was like, it's like he's a teenager, you know? Like you can feel the angst coming off of this frog. Adorable. So in my searching, I found another sweater. I hope I haven't shown this one before. It's the Ziggy sweater. Have I shown this before? It's really cool because it's in 2 colors. And I imagine that you knit the ones half, you know, the zig and then the zag and the other color. Super bulky. It looks like it's by that other designer who has pictures like this and designs it all super bulky. But this is by Ash and Her Knits, which I haven't seen before. Comes in 4 sizes and is very modern. This is very hip and in right now, this type of super bulky sweater. I guess these people all live in Canada or the northern US because it's just too warm anywhere else to wear a sweater like this. But it's cute. Thank you so much for joining me. Please leave me a comment. Your comments are great. I love sharing them on the podcast. There are so many good ones that I end up not being able to share all of them. But if you want to send me a knitting story, if you have a comment that maybe goes long and you want to email it to me as a knitting story, I would love to share it on the podcast. Devin, DEVIN at KnittyMcPurly.com. You can type it out and I will read it for you, or you can take a video of you telling the story. I love that because then I get to see your face. Or you can send in an audio file and I can play that too. However you want to share your story, that would be great. Maybe how you learned to knit, maybe about a grief project or a distraction project or a project that went horribly, hilariously wrong. Tell us your story, because this is our oral tradition and this is how we are sharing it with each other. It is great. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you back here next week. Bye, knitters.